All right, good morning, everyone. For those who are here, welcome to the Indiana Service Center. For those who are coming in through conference call, it's great to see you as well. Over the past week, representatives across all 6 service centers, representatives from other state agencies have come together for the Go Lean project, along with representatives of that. What the process of Go Lean is we're looking to find easier, better, faster, and cheaper ways to increase productivity here, increase employee morale, and also increase service to our customers. So that's what we've been working on since Monday till now. And we've been looking for analyzing our own unemployment system to see what is actually useful for the claimant and the employee and what is actually bringing us down. So throughout the course of this presentation, we're going to discuss that. We have several individuals who are going to discuss different aspects of our unemployment system, including our current state, what we hope to achieve, and what we think is very realistic for the time being. The whole goal of this, as I said, is our goal is to increase the satisfaction of our customers. Over the last couple of months, everyone across labor and industry knows we've been having some difficulty with our claimants. A lot, they are not satisfied with us. They don't have any faith and trust in us anymore. They don't think we're here to benefit them. Others, they've just given up completely. They don't want to try with unemployment. They think it's going to be a waste of my time. I'm not going to get any help. At the end of this production, whether it's at the end of this week, end of next month, end of next year, our goal is to have those customers, first off, reach their answers, or for us to provide them answers, and for us to get these people help. These claimants, they need our assistance. That's the only reason they're calling us. They're not looking for handouts. They need help. So over the course of this, we're going to discuss our ideas, and at the end of this presentation, we're going to open up for questions and answers. So at this time, we're just going to ask if you hold off on those, and I'm going to pass it off to Robin now.
Okay, I am Robin. I'm with the Altoona Unemployment Office. I'm an intake interviewer there. I am going to be discussing the current state of unemployment through the interviewer process, which is basically on our flow chart from here to about here. We are currently only taking calls on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Wednesdays and Fridays are no-call days. We are processing back area work such as pending pay, which is where we are looking to see about getting people paid that have filed, that have stops on their claims. We're processing internets, handling 45s, callbacks, any kind of other multiple issues. When we are only taking calls on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, this is causing long wait times for the claimants trying to get through to the unemployment office, long wait times, and the inevitable busy signals. We are currently using 400 ports to be handling those incoming calls to the unemployment office. There have been courtesy phones set up at the career links, allowing claimants to have easier access to getting a hold of an interviewer. The courtesy phones have been set up. These callers, once they get on the courtesy phones, have little or no wait time until they actually get to talk to a representative in the unemployment office. This, unfortunately, does have a negative effect on the people using the 1-800 numbers. They're the ones experiencing the long wait times and the busy signals. All people do not have access to go to a career link to use the quick way in. Claimants also have been contacting the unemployment office in other ways, by email, fax, and by contacting their legislator. All of these require extra steps, not only by the unemployment office, but by the legislative office. Once we do get any kind of information through an email, fax, or the legislative requests, we still have to usually contact the claimant and resolve their issue, which it's sometimes hard to get through to the person that you're trying to reach because they're busy working or are not available, don't have their phone on or whatever. Once the claimant does get through on the phone, they are given a prompt. Depending on that prompt they choose, they either go directly to the numerous public service announcements that we have in place on our system, or they listen to, if they choose a new claim, they listen to a 3-minute scripted speech, recorded speech about the new claim information. And then that person goes into the multiple listings of the public service announcements. Calls from career links do not hear the public service announcements. They get right through to an interviewer. They do, though, if they choose the new claim, hear that small prompt, "We do believe." When the call is answered by the interviewer has to verify the claimant's information. Most calls are inquiries about when does my claim end, when do I file on PAT, some normal unemployment procedures, PAT bailouts, things like that. The interviewer can handle very easily with little or no delays. When a new claim is selected on the prompt, the claimant does hear this 3-minute speech or script automated, and when the interviewer is done processing the unemployment claim, they have to address all non-adjudication issues and then read the claimant a script again, where the claimant is hearing information twice. The only difference is the interviewer is then giving specific dates that the claimant has to file on PAT or register with CareerLink. So they're getting duplicate information a lot of times. There are other calls that require additional review, such as a voluntary quit, a discharge, a person with a pension. Anything like that does require additional fact-finding by an examiner. Claimants are required to, claimants are recued to the current office that is handling that type of issue under the current specialization that we are having. It goes by the separation at hand or the issue at hand, and then the last digit of their social security number. When the claimant is recued to the examiner, unfortunately, we don't know exactly the time frame that they are placed on hold again until the examiner answers the call. It could be anywhere from 0 to 20 minutes. And the interviewer does not have the capability of knowing how long or if that call ever does get answered. Interviewers, in addition to taking the calls all day long, are also trying to take care of pending pays, which is getting people paid if they have a problem on their claim, working on internet claims and other area information. I am now going to pass my stick to Joanne.
My name's Joanne. I'm an examiner out of the Erie, Pennsylvania office. I'm going to talk a little bit about the current state of affairs in adjudication, which on our flow chart would run roughly from here to about here. Currently, Pennsylvania is using a specialization process where various service centers address specific issues. In Erie's case, we handle several digits of discharge. Others handle the other discharge, voluntary quit, or non-separation. On paper, this looks really good. If you're doing the same type of work all day, every day, you should be able to sharpen your process, be much better at your job, give a much better customer service experience to the claimants due to the fact that it's faster and it's better. Unfortunately, in the real world, there are some other factors that play in that we had not taken into account and we're trying to overcome. When I take a requeued call, I have the customer on the line, the claimant. I take the claimant form and I reach out to the employer and either take the form by phone, or if the employer requests, I can fax or email. Now, theoretically, this should work very well. Unfortunately, what happens in the real world is if the call comes into another office, Altoona, Indiana, wherever, the interviewer builds a claim, interfaces a claim before the requeue. The UC-45, which is the employer's notice of application, goes out automatically through the system with that office number and that office's address on there. Now, I'm sitting with the claimant information. I've reached out to the employer. Depending on how I reach out, 4 to 7 days later, I can pick the case back up and move forward with it. When I have both the claimant and employer information, everything looks like it matches, there are no discrepancies, I print the claim printout, and lo and behold, the 45, the notice of application to the employer, is somewhere between the office that sent it and me. So I have to set that case aside, causing a delay both in my process and to the customer. The 45, the notice of application comes in, I have a conflict. Now I have to contact the claimant. If I don't get the claimant, I have to leave a message and a 2-day wait. Again, a wait for the claimant. The claimant calls me, we address the problem, but in so doing, the claimant creates another discrepancy between their information and the employer's. So now I have to reach out to the employer. The whole time, the 21-day window to do a timely determination under federal statute and the 28-day first pay window is closing fast. Also, the customer is waiting and calling. Where's my determination? Where's my money? That's a simple one. A lot of them have a monetary issue. Say Indiana picks it up, there's a monetary issue. They address that, they send a point of contact form through the interoffice mail to me. Realistically, instead of 1 or 2 days to get from them to me, sometimes I get them on day 14 or 15. And now I'm initiating fact-finding. I get the fact-finding done, except for waiting on the monetary issue. I get all the paperwork from that. Lo and behold, we have another issue to address that I was unaware of. Meanwhile, the claimant is waiting and calling and calling. We keep running in a circle, and the whole time, while we're waiting, the claimant is waiting. And this is just, we need to find a better way. And with that, I'll hand off to the next.
My name is Vicki Taylor. I'm the Clerical Supervisor in Indiana. And process begins after the examiner issues his determination and runs all the way through the referee hearing and posting the appeal back in our office. Clerical
Hello.
is across the state.
Hi, this is Erie. You turned your head away from the speaker and we didn't hear anything that you said to start off with.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
The appeals process starts when the examiner has issued his determination and runs through the referee's hearing and the board review hearing, and then it will come back to our office to have those decisions posted. Throughout the state, Clerical is responsible for information distribution and processing appeals. Currently across the state, different officers are using different procedures. We're using forms and tools that are cumbersome to use. Each day, clerical units across the state have to deal with a mountain of paper. That paper must be sorted and distributed before any action can be taken on it. In some offices, depending on their procedure and their staffing level, are only able to distribute the mail to individual departments, and then from there a supervisor must distribute the mail to the individual members of their department as time allows. In our office, we're fortunate enough to have a staffing level and a procedure that allows us to do a vast majority of our mail is able to be delivered individually, but even that has its limitations. Some of our forms, like ease forms, when they're sent out through the ease system, there's no way to identify who sent that form, and therefore when it comes back in, no way to identify who that goes back to. And then that creates another step where the information has to be looked at by yet another person to be matched to the person who is currently working on the case. And that's, adding to our timeliness and to our customer service. In the appeals process, again, different offices are using different procedures and have different staffing levels. In some offices, they are using individual appeal processing, where one person will process the appeal from start to finish. In our office, we're fortunate to have a procedure and a staffing level that allows us to do a distribution of labor process where we are using different modules that we run our appeal process through that allows us to increase our volume and push more appeals through. We're able to process our work timely, and we're able to assist other offices. And the more that we are able to improve our processes and meet our workload, it increases our funding and increases our customer satisfaction. When we're not able to do that because of procedures and staffing levels, we are inhibiting our ability to collect our funding and to meet our customer service goals. And you can see there are many challenges that the customer faces when they're going through the interviewer process, through the examiner process, through the appeals process, that we can work on to improve our customer satisfaction and our customer service. And that will bring us to our ideal state, where we would eventually like to be in an ideal world in terms of serving our customer. And so I will hand you off to Bobby Lynn.
Hi, my name is Bobby. I'm at the Indiana office. I've been with the state for 8-9 years. So I just want to tell you a story real quick before we start with the ideal state. During the first year of my being an interviewer, I remember having a call, and the claimant was very upset, yelling, screaming, swearing, cussing. I was called every single name possible in the book on that call. And the last thing he said before he calmed down was, I was a CEO of this company. You know, are you serious right now? And he was scared. He was frustrated. He went from a CEO not to having a job. This is where our focus is. I mean, once the call was done, he was satisfied. He was good. I got a letter in the mail. Thank you so much. I apologize, so much because I was so rude to you on this call. That's our job. That's what every single call should be, a thank you at the end. Because we are customer focused or claimant focused. That's where we need to be. So in our ideal state of UC, we want to be waste-free. So let me explain a little bit about what I mean by saying waste-free. An ideal state of UC, we want to eliminate the waste of our customers' time, our department's time and resources, and our employees' time and resources. So some examples of waste is transportation, lessening the amount of routing documents from office to office, 6 offices. We can have documents for one claim in 6 different offices. This needs to change. We need to have everything routed in one office. Overproduction, motion, defects. The defects are going to lessen the mistakes and the loss of documents. Waiting. Claimant wait times for determinations, claimant hold times, examiner wait times to receive needed proper paperwork and information to write decisions. Our inventory and processing. So we will have a user-friendly system with clear processes and procedures. The department will be properly staffed for the demand of our customers to eliminate hold times and busy signals. Our staff will be sufficiently trained across the department. We are one Pennsylvania. We are not 6 different offices. We are not Indiana. We are not Erie. We are not Scranton. We are not Harrisburg. Who am I forgetting? Duquesne. We are not Duquesne. Sorry. I don't have them written. We are one. We are one Pennsylvania. That's it. That's where we want to be. Our metrics. Our metrics need to be realistic for our customers, and our metrics need to be realistic for our employees. 10 minutes to assist a claimant fully is unrealistic for an interviewer to do that. we're putting these metrics on interviewers to basically fail. We need to get rid of that 10 minutes. We cannot assist a claimant in 10 minutes, so they will not call back again. 15 to 20 minute call, all your questions are answered. That claimant is not calling back the 15 times asking questions over and over and over. 45 to 50 determinations a week is unexpected. With expected quality that we have right now, that is not realistic. 35 to 40 determinations on an examiner, that is a realistic expectation. It makes more reasonable results with less defects and better quality for our claimants, which is going to exceed the state and federal standards that we have set forth right now. So in short right now, in this presentation, we are waste-free department, we are claimant or customer focused, and we are one state. We are Pennsylvania. So we're going to go into the future state, and so I'm going to hand you off to Laura.
Thank you. I'm Laura. I've been with the state for a little over 5 years. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. Thank you for presenting GOZNIN, where we can get an opportunity to examine our system and make improvements. The future, what we hope for unemployment in the future would be a standardized approach that is the same across the state that would create a quicker, more friendly, less frustrating experience for the claimant. When they're calling into us, it's one of the really bad times in their lives when they really need help. And a lot of them are not familiar with the situation and don't know the process. We would like to optimize that to make it a good experience for the citizens of the United States. I'm sorry, for Pennsylvania. To help do that, we want to create a schedule that allows more people to be on the phone during our high call volume times so that they would have less wait time and fewer busy signals so that they're able to reach someone to help them. Once they do get through, we'd like to be able to take the time to gather all the information the first time and get the correct information the first time, address all their issues the first time, and give them an understanding of what's going to happen so they don't call back every week or twice a week to find out what's going on. If we could give them a good explanation, that would reduce callbacks and reduce busy signals and overall call volume. If we'd like to give them updates. If there hasn't been any contact with them on their claim, we'd like to send them a letter or an email saying, we realize that you have a claim out there, we are working on it, and please be patient. If we allow the interviewers to handle some of the issues that they can handle, things that do not require an examiner, like no issue reporting requirements or things that aren't an issue with able and available things, that would reduce the time that the claimant has to wait for payment. That also eases up the examiners to do the important work they need to do. Currently, we're not taking calls on Wednesdays and Fridays. If we would open that up and take some calls Wednesday and Friday mornings, we could give them more access to the system, let more calls get through so that they're not having to wait. At the same time, we'd like to then rotate some teams off the phone at times when we are not that busy. We have a lower call volume to let them handle things like the internet claims that might have issues. If we can get them addressed quicker, we can get the information out to the employer so that the examiners can make a determination faster. We have payments that are held up just because they need to be looked at by a person. If we can get to those on Mondays or Tuesdays, we eliminate the calls at the end of the week asking, where's my payment? If we can keep the process all in one office, all the paperwork is sent out and initiated and comes back to the correct office. It eliminates time that is spent in postage, in transportation, in looking up to see what office it goes to. It's a cost saver, a time saver, a transportation saver if you can keep everything in one office. Having the information gets it out to if we have proper clerical staff to process the information in a timely manner. It helps examiners have all the information they need in a timely manner so they can make timely determinations. Ideally, it would be nice to have the information come in and distributed to the examiner or appropriate person within 24 hours. If we had standardized forms, standardized procedures, standardized guides, desk guides for the interviewers, standardized forms for the employers and claimants and examiners that would all match up, that would make it a lot easier for us to properly serve the citizens of the Pennsylvania and make them have a better experience. Because we are all one state and we are all just trying to make it better for the claimant. Thank you. Now we're going to talk to Bobby Joe, and she's going to tell us about some things we could do to make that happen.
Hi, I'm Bobby Joe, and I am from the Harrisburg UC Center. What I have is some information on items that we are going to implement to get to our future state. We would like to, at the time of the claimant calling in, we would be modifying the prompt system, the selection. There's too many choices as of right now. They would be reduced down so that we wouldn't have that repeated information given out to the claimant. We would provide our interviewers with standardized tools across the state, so everyone will be using the same items needed to process and the claims, and then also to resolve any non-issues, and that would reduce repeat calls back to us if they were able to take care of that at that level. We'd like to create a link between the initial claim building process and the job gateway registration. That would also cut back on some calls if we could take care of that connection between the two. And standardizing is a big thing that we're really trying to stress in all of our centers. And what we would like to do is to get the staff within all of our centers to have standardized schedules across the state. And that would allow us to meet the morning demand on the phone, and it would match our supply and demand. So when we need it, we would have those interviewers to take on all those calls, which would then in turn allow us to create a production team. And that would be a group of interviewers and such that would take care of that when the phone lines get to a manageable amount, then they would be able to come off the phones and work on these projects, the pending pays, as people have talked about, the backlog, and the internet claims in a timely manner. We'd start that on Mondays, not Wednesdays and Fridays only. We'd be able to get that accomplished ahead of time. That would eliminate a lot of calls later in the week. And that would be thought it would be great to have a rotating team. So it would interchange with other interviewers to have them cross-trained. You know, these interviewers be able to do different things and be able to fill in where needed, so that everyone would be able to attack that project. Now, with that, having a production team and doing that every day would allow us that time to open up hours on Wednesdays and Fridays in the morning for 4 hours that we could take calls from claimants. It would give us that time where we could make it easier for the claimants to get in touch with us. And then after we get that building of the claim and we keep our the claims in-house, if it has an issue, we'd be able to transfer it through to an examiner that is available. So that first examiner that's available is well-trained to take on any issue that comes their way. They would be able to send out the information and questionnaires, get the information back. Any paperwork that was sent out when we built that claim will come right back to them. It won't be sent out, and we won't be paper chasing throughout the state to get a claim taken care of. standardizing our clerical procedures across the state. Some don't really have the best system going on, and others are really good. If we standardize it across the state, we'll know what we need to do and where the papers are and how to process it. There's not going to be a question of how do we handle it, where is it at, or that we have to pull others off of, projects. And during our adjudication, during the time of where we are getting our papers and we're waiting for our employer information to come back, there will be that time where we have to do the process and give that employer and the claimant that time to get the information to us. Well, while they're waiting and they're not receiving their payments and they are filing their biweekly claims, we would send out every 2 weeks, like an update. And right now it would be manual, but we could eventually get it to where it's accessible through the internet. We'd be able to give them that more understandable update online if they want to check their claim, or if we would issue it through that to send it out to them, we'd be able to do it that way. Updating the internet in the future, we might even be able to have them take care of their own PIN instead of calling us. So that's half of our calls. But in our future state, that is what we'd like to implement and get to be able to get there. So that's some of our ideas. We have many more, but that's where we're starting. And I will hand it over to Zach for some of our matrix.
Hi, I'm Zach, representative from the Scranton UC Service Center for this Go Lean program. I want to talk to you today about the metrics. So this is the current state, and then I'll reveal the future state from our implementation process of what we're able to, what we hope to achieve with this. Now, these are based on the customer experience, what they're going through. Now, the busy signals, that's 85% right now that what they're going through. They have to continuously call to even get a hold of us. We hope to get that down to 50%. That is a 41% decrease that we'll be able to do. Now, they'll have a max wait time. Our current state is 68 minutes. We hope to get that down to 34 minutes, which will be another 50% decrease. The average wait time. Right now, the customer has to wait about 40 minutes. We want to get that down to 20 minutes with this implementation process. That's a 50% decrease. That's what we hope to achieve. Timeliness of determinations for the non-monetary process. So that's what the examiners, what we're able to do. Now, right now, we're only able to get 59% done. This is due to the fact of all the paperwork getting switched around to all the other offices. Now, future state, with everything that we hope to achieve, we'll get to 80%, which will be our federal standard. And of course, with continuous improvements, we'll be able to get that higher and higher. This will be a 36% increase. Now, the postage, which is an issue because we continuously are sending paperwork, we're over budget. We're over budget by April. So we're taken away already from other projects. We want to be on budget, at least. Be able to do that with this process. Overall, that's a decrease, and we're helping everything else. Now, with all of this, these are all done from the process of steps that we have here that the customer has to go through. The current state is 40 plus. That means the customer is doing all of these steps, and we're trying to help them through it, but they have to continuously do this in our current state. With the future state and the process that we have, that we will have, 16. We want to get it down a great deal. 60%. I think we can do this, and I think we all can back these numbers when we implement the processes that we came up with this Go Lean program. Now, I want to hand over for the closing remarks to Jim.
I'm Jim Smith. I'm a UC Claims Supervisor here at the Indiana office, and thank you for coming here, and thank you for participating on the video conference, and thank you for providing us the opportunity to get together to discuss and present our ideas for improvement. We're not strangers to change, and we appreciate the opportunity to make a difference in the improvement process, all of us who have volunteered, especially since most of the people here who are involved in this have direct contact with the claimant, who's our main customer. All of us volunteered because we're passionate about our jobs, and we want the process to work not only for us, but for the claimants and our other customers who depend upon us to get this done. We realize that some things cannot be implemented and take effect right away. Some things we can fix right now. Other things may have to go through discussion and through approval, and maybe even pilot process. So, but all together, maybe step by step for the continuous improvement. We need your support and guidance, and please help us to build the trust with the claimants and with each other, so that we can continue to work to get that ideal state. I'd like to end with a quote from a United States Marine who received the Medal of Honor in Okinawa during World War II. Quality is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, intelligent direction, and skillful execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. And I think we're going to open up for questions at this point.
Yes, thank you. All right, so we'll go room to room. We'll start with this room. If anyone has any questions here or comments.
Yes, I do.
All right,
Yes,
Bobby, you got it.
Yes, I do. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody for participating. I am a very, very, very big supporter of Lean. I've attended every one of these breakout sessions to show my support and the department's support and to thank you for your efforts. I think this is really good stuff. I do have a couple of questions. One, as you were going through this, you mentioned the savings with the postage. Anybody have a ballpark figure what you believe you could save each fiscal year in postage savings?
No.
I don't think we do.
Okay. Next question. To eliminate the callbacks, you're discussing lengthening the script that the interviewers would use on the phones?
Modifying.
Well, explain to me what you're...
Basically modifying what the interviewer says to what,
Okay.
what the consumer's need is.
And that's what I'm looking for, that type of guidance to say, this is what we need to do to cut back on the callbacks, to eliminate the amount of touches that we would need, and the better, at the end of the day, it's all about serving the customers. And if we can make your jobs a little bit easier, that's good too.
So we thought we'd address it up front as soon as they call us.
Okay.
Not the fifth time or the sixth time that they call back.
No, it's a very good suggestion. I was just wondering if you were actually discussing lengthening the script, but apparently not. You feel that you've come up with some questions that you need to add in, or maybe questions you need to take out and add some stuff in, and that's good.
Reword. That's what we're looking for. Rewording so that it's better for the customer to understand us when we're telling them.
Excellent.
Allowing more time for the interviewer lets the claimant ask questions so that we can clarify anything that we think they're not understanding. Sometimes the language that it's put in that you read from the script, they don't really know, and they need a little clarification. So allowing more time would do that, so you tell them the first time and they don't have to call back.
Okay. I get it. I understand. Hopefully, we will get a long-term funding solution and have some increased funding, and that'll go a long way towards eliminating the busy signals, the average wait time, the maximum wait time. But I'm very interested in the ways that we can reduce the cost of postage, because you're right, it is too high. It's something we really need to look at. And here again, changing that script around, anything we can do to service our customers better, I'm all in and all ears.
In terms of postage savings, we've already implemented some steps to do that. We used to mail our appeals and referee decisions. Now we are scanning them. We are eliminating a lot of inter-office mail via scanning. So we're trying to come up with new procedures, new processes to eliminate some of our postage costs. If we can find other delivery methods to employers, right now we're using desktop faxing and emailing. That's also contributing to postage savings. Coming up with new ways to reach our customer, possibly electronically, would also save us a lot of money down the road in postage.
Very good.
Yeah, we did have an implement. We wanted to implement the way some of the script is worded. Like right now, we're asking for an email address rather than maybe just tweak it and reword it as, "Can we contact you by email?" So then we already have the permission to contact the claimant by email that way. So, I mean, the majority of people have email addresses that if we can contact them that way and start communicate that way, I can see that as a huge postage decrease.
Very good.
Texting as well. Texting if we can get out there. I mean, this is huge.
You mean?
I'm in the Green Bay.
You mean we're trying to move everything into the 21st century?
Most people have smartphones. They live through texting and they live through emails. That's a big thing, and let that be an option for them. Do you want us to communicate through email, or do you want alerts? Alerts would be big. How many
We don't have to give sensitive information via
huge.
text, but we can say, "Hey, we've sent you an email," and then they go and read that email, and they don't end up calling.
Or how about an alert that says, "Hey, you're due to file your biweekly claim on Sunday,"
and then we don't get calls for people to file their biweekly claim.
So a reminder. I mean, just that alone is going to cut down on the decision of reporting requirement decisions. To appeals, because they're not going to have a decision because we've gotten them on track and we've kept them on track. So those types of things, I mean, all that postage, it's just going to waterfall right down.
Yeah. And we already have a system in place to deal with sensitive information. When we're transmitting information via email, we can encrypt it. The employer will register in our encrypted site, and they're able to receive that information safely and confidentially. So we have a system in place already that we can possibly expand upon.
Very good.
And I just want to add with what Bobby was saying about with the reporting requirements, how we'll help cut down on those, is our idea with implementation is to help the interviewer kind of empower them, because as we've all seen is if an examiner has an approval for reporting requirements, they do not write a determination. So if we can have more leeway for an interviewer, because that's my position here, I'm an interviewer, to help approve them, that's saving an examiner time that they need to focus on big issues. Sorry.
That's okay. I just want to reword it.
I'm sorry.
So it's better. Not approving. It's a non-issue.
Yeah.
When a reporting requirement is not an issue, so the interviewer, so we don't get tongue-tied with wording.
Yeah.
They're not approving or disapproving anybody. It's a non-issue. And they're not making a decision. If a decision needs made, then it goes to an examiner. But the ones that are not an issue, that's a one-touch. That's, the interviewer has that power. It's one touch on the phone and off the phone and dealt with the problem. That way it doesn't have to add a day or two to the customer or postage for a decision or rerouting the call or keeping that claimant on the phone when it's just one touch and go. So the wording, I just want to
that is a better wording.
It's not an issue to begin with, so it doesn't become they're making decisions. It's because they're not sending things that aren't an issue to the examiners that don't need to have them, basically.
Very good.
All right, other questions in here? Yes.
How are you posing keeping everything in one office?
We had discussed that. Can everybody hear me? Mm-hmm. Can all the other offices hear? Because I can't see it. So we were stating that rather than requeuing to specialization offices, that it's a requeue within the office. So if Indiana gets a call, then we have an Indiana queue. We do want to still have access to transfer outside to other examiners or other offices, because Indiana might get a call that Erie is working on, and we need to get that transferred to that particular examiner. But the requeue, basically we just renamed the requeue drop-down boxes that we have right now. Instead of it saying non-SEP 0997, we say 0997 at the end. It just comes to, it stays in Indiana. And then, I mean, it's already in place. We just need to rename the drop-down boxes, basically.
All right, other questions? All right, in that case, we'll go to who's on the phone. Let's start in Erie. Does anyone have any questions in Erie? I feel like I should have a countdown. 5, 4.
My name's Tom.
Oh, there we go.
I'm an examiner. I worked the pending pay list, and quite a few times I'll go back through the list, find claimants 8, 10, 6 weeks, where we sent them to the requeue. Nothing's been addressed. Is there a way we can go back and have like an interviewer or something check to see if that call was addressed?
That was an idea that I had during the course of this was, I think with the interviewers, at least here in Indiana, we're expected to, when we do a requeue, we're to notate it on our call log where we send it. If anything, if maybe at the end of the day, because our goal is we're going to be getting through all these calls, we'll have more time, for the interviewer to review their call log and see their requeues and make sure that an examiner has notated that I have this case. And if they don't see that something's being addressed, they can notify their supervisor, and we can get it addressed at that time. That way, we're not having 10, 12 weeks held, and we don't realize no one's ever done fact-finding. It's a way that, it's almost like a safety net. Like, we can make sure that they didn't drop out of the requeue because they were like, I don't want to wait on hold anymore, I'm done, and hang up, or they get disconnected because we have plenty of claimants who call and be like, I was being transferred, and I dropped off. That's a way we can catch these people to keep them, to provide them better service. That way, like, because obviously they might not think that, oh, well, I got disconnected. Oh, well, they'll address it for me. They don't know that if we lose them, we lose them. We don't know where they are. So that's, I think, a good backup. And Bob, you want to add something?
I was so nervous about talking, so I have so much to say now. We wanted to implement, you know, when we print a pending pay, and so it's like 35 pages because one social security number is reprinted 30 times on there, not 30, but let's say 7 times on there because there's 7 weeks. We want to implement that when it's printed, it's only showing one social, one printed social instead of the same social 7 times. So one is going to shrink it's going to make it look less, one, so it's not so overwhelming. But 2, when we're implementing that we're doing production every single day, the pending pay should not be out of control on Wednesdays and Fridays like it is now. We are working on, we're planning on trying to get the majority of them done and paid what we can on Monday and Tuesday to stop the call, where's my money, Wednesdays or Thursdays, to alleviate some of that. So the pending pay should be smaller. But that's always another safety net too. I mean, you're finding them on pending pay and nobody's addressed them. But I would hope that with the future pending pay list, that it's not going to go 10 weeks before we catch it on a pending pay as well. We're gonna be implementing doing pending pay daily. You know what I mean, to get those cleared. So I would hope that we would catch it before the 10 weeks that you caught those claims. So that's also a safety net as well. I mean, we're going to be working on those pending pays a lot more and efficiently than what we are now.
All right, other questions from Erie? Someone in the back.
It's Mark from Erie. Just wanted to ask, in the last VSAP session, you guys had a list of so many changes that you were suggesting. In this session, how many changes were listed, and how many of them, just an estimate, could be implemented without too much hassle?
42.
42? 42, yes.
How many were
They're saying 42.
Easy.
14 were just do it.
They're saying 42 total, and about 14 were the just do it kind that seem fairly simple.
Of that 14, did that require any IT changes?
No.
Process.
Yeah, I think the IT changes were in the 42.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were at the bottom.
Yeah, and
Okay,
I want to
thank
take
you.
this moment to remind everyone that Shama and I put these implementation plans on the L drive so that everyone can see them. They're in the Lean PA folder on the L drive.
Anyone else? Paula, I'm a claim. Oops, I'm sorry. This is Paula. I'm a claims examiner in Erie. I've been here a day or two, and my question is, when you were referencing the peak times and the a number of interviewers scheduled to be on the phone, are you going back to a scheduling software? There used to be a scheduling software, Blue Pumpkin, so would you be going back to something like that that was scheduled throughout the state as opposed through local offices?
It'll be standardized throughout the state. It won't be office to office on what they assume is their needs. It'll be the state's needs. When that queue is full, that's when we want our interviewers on to impact it. And so by, majority in at 8, the rest of them, we're all on at 9 o'clock. Everybody, all interviewers, getting the calls taken care of.
All right, other questions from Erie? All right.
Okay, we seem to be done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm moving west to east, so how about Duquesne? Any questions from Duquesne? Actually, can't tell.
Yeah. Okay, we're off mute. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bob.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, my question was, some of these ideas seem pretty good, but since Benmont is already in progress, how are we going to get these ideas over to the Benmont project so they can be put into place? Well, that's an ongoing project already.
One of the reasons
Are you people going to go to Benmont?
It's my understanding you're working hand in hand with them, correct?
Right, yeah, we won't know for sure. None of us knows for sure what BenMod's doing. So we need to find out how that system functions to really be able to determine what we can and can't do. So yeah, we work with the BenMod core team to make sure that we will find out what's coming and what things we may have to do on our own. All right, other questions
And then,
from Duquesne?
Just not necessarily a question, just a comment. This is Sean from Duquesne. I just wanted to thank you all. Looks like you came up with a lot of good suggestions. Nice collaborative effort. So some of these ideas are good ones, and I think would be well suited to implement them as soon as possible. So thank you very much.
I'm with Sean with that.
Thanks, Sean.
Anything?
All right, nothing else there? All right,
Nothing
how about
else
Altoona? Okay. How about the Altoona office? Any questions in Altoona, from Altoona? Dan? Go ahead.
Was there any talk of utilizing all the core hours of labor and industry, or of UC from 7 to 5, where maybe we could open the phones up from 7 to 8 so those people could beat the career link rush and get through and not as many busy signals?
Come on, guys. We're here, believe it or not.
Someone
all of those. We talked about all of those things. We talked about maybe reducing the time frame. Apparently 30% of our calls that are coming in, correct, are career link calls. So we had talked about reducing the hours that the phone that is available at CareerLink, giving them certain days so that the people at home not using the CareerLink can get through. We also did talk about open the 7-3 shift back up, or extending hours. I wouldn't go. We'll just say we discussed the extended hours as well, whether it be to 6 or 7. And I know Clerical, Vicky had talked about how that would benefit her clerical or the clerical staff if there was a time that there, at the end of the day that they could get some stuff done. So yes, we did talk about the career link times and for the phone, and we did talk about the 7 to 3 shift. I think we even talked about the 6 to 2 shift as well, to have a couple of non-phone time before and after shifts. But so yes, that was discussed as well.
Adapting the shifts to the work rather than
Yes.
the work to the shift.
Yes.
I'd like to see the information you received that 30% of the calls you're handling are coming from career links.
I believe so, yeah.
I know you said 6 p.m. 6 p.m. I know that. All right. Other questions from Altina? Very dark there.
The question on the scanning of documents, if they're already doing that for the appeals, you could scan all your documents into a central file and pull them out from there. You wouldn't have to do near as much posting or losing of file information. If you just scan it into a certain central file, I mean, that's some of the things they're looking at doing anyway with some of the modernizations. I think you can already do some of that. Another point would be also with the pending pay. We used to do it. You have to pull it by office or digit. You have to do something with it, and that is a good idea. But the old way we pull it's not going to work per se. It needs to be revamped, and people do need to work on that. It does stop the calls, and it does do a lot. It's just how we're going to implement it, and you have to allow time to do it. More
That was
comments?
the,
You guys have any?
I just want to touch base on that real quick. The pending pay that when we were talking about the production groups, sort of like, well, I'm thinking Indiana's the only one that doesn't do it. The adjudication departments, you guys' adjudication departments, you guys switch days of who's taking calls on what days, right? Yes? No? You guys are? I think you are. From my understanding,
Yes.
that you guys are switching days. I'm not getting the answer. But you're switching days. So you have an ABC group, and you guys switch days of who's taking calls and who gets production days. Basically the same way when you're doing production work on, it might be A, B, C, D, or however it's going to work across the state. But you rotate those to do the pending pays and to be able to pull those productively so that we can get those cleared out so that the Wednesday and Thursday calls aren't coming in. Where's my money and stuff like that. So that was the point of the productions. What are we calling that?
Production teams.
The production teams, the rotating production teams.
Rotating within each center.
Yeah.
Not
Right.
rotating throughout the state.
Yes.
From center to center. No.
Standard across the state, each
Right.
office will have a rotating production teams.
All right. Other things from Altoona? Anything else? All right. Let's actually go up to Scranton. Does Scranton have any questions?
Yeah, hi, I'm Carl from Scranton. As for the 45s, I'm sure they're going across the state due to human error if interviewer interfaces by accident the wrong office, and then I don't know if when they come through on the internet, if they ever get interfaced to whatever office that got it, but it needed to go to the discharge office, but it went to some random office. Is there any way, but maybe by how the claimant chooses, or when the claimant indicates discharge or quit, is there any way to streamline it so that by what they answer, the computer puts the correct office number on there, and then the 45 goes to the right place every time?
Our number one goal is to keep all your issues in-house. So if an interviewer in Indiana gets a call, it gets requeued in Indiana. There will not be any specialization.
Let's talk about internet.
Oh, internets. Don't those all get separated by the office number?
Yes.
Already?
But somebody goes in and changes the local office number to get it to the office that it needs to go to.
Already went out to
the. It's automatic. No, there's a sorting.
Don't go. I guess I'm confused here. The procedure is when you build a claim and you identify the separation issue, the office number is to be built under the office that you're requeuing it to, so that the 45 goes to that office. So if you were doing that already statewide, we wouldn't have this issue that seems to be the biggest issue here. And the second part of that is that all identified issues within your office stay within your office. You should not be moving them. So if we're moving them, I'm not understanding why we're doing it to begin with. The 45 that comes to Indiana stays in Indiana. You do whatever the issue is. It doesn't go anywhere else. And it's been that way, and I keep reiterating that. So apparently I'm not understanding. So I'll make sure that something goes out to all offices to support what the current state is, because I'm not sure that the current state that I heard today is the intended current state. It seems like we've gone off in 6 different directions. So I have concern about that. So we'll fix that part first, and then we'll work towards your suggestions, because we should be doing it one way to begin with. So didn't mean to interrupt there. So.
That's great. But when an internet claim comes through and we get our sheets and it's an issue, someone in Harrisburg or somewhere, 991 or somewhere, has already changed the local office number that claim was billed under, and that 45 has already gone out.
But you do not need a 45 to write a determination. No fact finding has been established. The person who has it in their office would pull the ease fact finding form and initiate the separation fact finding with the employer. It should be returned to that individual in that office. The 45 is not considered a fact finding document. If you needed it, you could request it, but we don't necessarily need to move it. We sort those by type, and we can move them, but right now we're storing them.
If we have a 45 and it has a discrepancy on it from the information that we have obtained on a 1900 series, that will fail BTQ.
I agree that if you don't have any other information, but if you got fact finding from that same employer, whatever that fact finding statement is supersedes what is on a UC 45.
I'm sorry, I disagree with you. It would fail.
You would have to call the employer if you had differentiating information or conflicting information from within their own statement.
If we make a decision on a claim with fact finding, and the 45 comes in a day later, and that 45 has discrepancies from this information that we've just done this decision on, then we have to clear the discrepancy.
I'm not saying that you don't have to do that, but if you have the employer's information, a fact finding sheet, and you have the claimant's fact finding sheet, that's where you're going to do your discrepancies, because the employer's fact finding sheet is the official method of receiving fact finding. A SIDES is different. SIDES has information and specific questions related to a separation, is intended to take the place of a 1900 series forms. But the same thing would happen if you had discrepancies from the employer statement over here and the employer statement here. You have to correct that information. But the first person you're going to go to is the employer who supplied 2 sets of information. So
right, regardless whether it's a discrepancy between a claimant and an employer or an employer-employer discrepancy, it's still a discrepancy. So if there's
I'm not
you still have to
disagreeing with
address
you.
it.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
So what we're saying,
saying
the discrepancy is coming in after the decision is done. So then we have an issue of two paperwork being in 2 different offices, which is what we're trying to do, is keep everything in one office.
If we can get the discrepancy before the decision is issued, then we don't have to go back and redo the decision.
Okay, and I think we're going to table this until later because we need to do this, get through this process. But the bottom line is we don't have to have the 45 as a matter of the fact finding. record if you have a fact-finding record from the employer that meets the criteria for UI performs. But we can discuss that later and how we're going to get
This is something that we
it.
clearly have to look
Right.
into.
We need to look into what you're saying and how often that occurs. All right.
If there's no response to the employer fact finding and we have a 45,
Right, exactly.
If we don't have it included in that determination packet, we fail every time.
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying in the case where you have an employer fact finding, we're saying two different things. So we need to go over that later.
All right. So back to Scranton. Is there any other question from Scranton?
Yes, I have a question. So I know we're talking about, how we're going to go lean with all of our processes, and that's the whole point and purpose of these meetings. But I guess I kind of want some more information regarding how specifically we're going to go lean in adjudication, with respect to, say, central file, delays in mail. I know there was talk of call transfers, additional call transfers on Wednesdays and Fridays, which are generally no call days, and how is this going to increase productivity and timeliness for adjudication?
I can speak about mail distribution. Going from a system where we're distributing to the supervisors, and then the supervisors, as time allows, because they're also doing their job as a supervisor, redistributing that work to their individual staff members. If we can create a more efficient system where Clerical is able to deliver individual information to individual staff members, then we've eliminated the middleman and thereby speeding up the process. And some of that is going to depend on changing processes. Some of that is going to depend on staffing levels. There are some offices that are working with one clerk or three clerks, and one person serving a whole office, or people serving one office is not sufficient staff to achieve those goals. And then there's also the staff to clerical ratio. We're pretty fortunate in our office. We have a fairly good ratio. In some offices, 6 staff might be enough to adequately provide proper support and information distribution to a staff of 80 or 90. On some offices, you may only have 6 and have 150 staff, and that becomes a whole different strategy. There are logistics issues. Different offices are set up in different ways. So there are a number of factors that filter into that. Some things we control. We can't change the shape of an office. The building, we could perhaps change the organization of it, but there may be limitations. So we can address those where we can address those. Certainly we can update our procedures and make sure that we are getting is the way that we're currently distributing mail, is the way that we're currently distributing emails and faxes the most efficient way to get the information to the person who needs to take the action, and cut out any middle steps, and some of that is going to depend on our delivery systems from our customers too. If someone mails something, we're looking at 3 to 4 days before it even gets to us, and that enters into our time frame for our processing. If we can somehow encourage employers and claimants to send their information to us in the quickest way possible, as Bobby said, the vast majority of folks do have email. On their phones, or they can text on their phones, and to get that information to us quickly as possible, that's will add 3 to 4 days of processing time to any process, whether it's clerical or adjudication. So starting at the beginning of our information system, the information coming from the outside to our inside, then addressing the information distribution internally. Looking at both those ends can help us, update our processing and our procedure time. and let us get decisions faster, which not only helps our customers with their satisfaction and getting their benefits. I mean, the people that we have calling in aren't just nameless faces, the voices that we talk to on the phone. These are real people with real lives and real family, and that matters to us. And
the vast majority of them are living paycheck to paycheck.
Exactly.
And they need their unemployment.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And so we want to do the best we can to serve them, and it also serves us. But by increasing our efficiency and our effectiveness, we are able to increase our funding. The more we hit our federal standards, the more funding we're going to get. So it's a win-win. So those are the issues that we're going to try to look at to increase the effectiveness of our information distribution, so that decisions can be made more timely, so appeals can be processed more timely.
In your discussion, did anyone come up with any plan or any idea of how we could help with returned information by putting some identifying feature on a document that's going out?
We did suggest that somehow when the ease forms go out, they used to put like a CT date after the employer. If you could put, like, say, the examiner's initials after that, when the mail was open, they wouldn't have to type in the SOC to see what examiner that would go to. It would just be on a form.
So I'll see this in your process somewhere.
Yeah,
suggestions.
Yeah, we tried to do that in the past. I think we abandoned that process where we were putting after the employer name, we were putting initials, and it was causing problems with the post office. So I don't know if we can enter it there, or if we can create a spot on our ease form where we can enter that information.
Yeah, we had talked about, like, there's a drop down when you pick the office number of where you want the ease form to be returned. A place where you can put your initials, either below it or somewhere on the ease form. It's just adding another spot to put in the initials where it's coming back. Maybe an office. I mean, the office number is already there. I'm sorry, the office number drop down is already there. Just adding an initials, a place where we can put initials where it needs to go back to on the ease form. So yes, we did talk about that.
We have our time watchers in the back. We are going to. I do want to note that this was the big overall process of UC. We will look more in depth at the adjudication process in October. We'll be doing one of these events for adjudication. It'll be in Harrisburg, so you'll see more information come out about that. All right, I'm going to move on to Harrisburg, room E100. Are there any questions in E100? All right. I don't hear anything from them. All right. I'm going to move on to room 410. I believe 410 has individuals there. Do you have any questions?
Yes, we do have a few.
Penny.
Penny?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. As a former employee working at a Career Link, I knew that there were some times that, can you hear me? That we partnered with workforce development. And I think maybe an idea that we might want to look at, we have mandated workshops already for some of the claimants to attend a prep hearing and things like that. I'm wondering if we could somehow create a plan or think of a way that we can capture those claimants when they first come in and offer a workshop that would maybe give a general overview of what is their responsibility as a claimant, reading their handbook, how to file an appeal. Now, I don't know how we would coordinate who would actually teach the workshops, but I was on a call today, and it was basically giving out information that this claimant should have known had he read the handbook. We all know people don't read their handbooks. But is there a way that we could prevent maybe some calls by capturing them at the first time they walk into a Career Link? Career Links have helped us out by allowing us to use their phone to give a direct, method to call us. And I'm wondering if there's a way that we can offer a workshop, whether it's mandated or not, but something that might be there for them to help them. Get some explanation on how do I file an appeal? What's the most important thing that I need to know when I'm filing on unemployment? Well, the first thing is, let's explain what the waiting week is and what it isn't. Why it's their responsibility to file a biweekly claim. It's not our responsibility. But has anyone thought about coordinating or partnering with
Yes,
workforce
we'd like to
development
see
in
that.
Sean's coming.
Hi, yes, we are. We have thought about that. We actually talked about that this week. There are some ideas about how we can do that, and Workforce is also excited to think about ways that we, Workforce and UC, can work together to help the claimant. So yes.
Other questions in 410?
Yeah, I don't have a comment. This is Charlie Law, site administrator for HOC. I just have a statement to make. I see Secretary O'Brien sitting there. If you just take a look over your right shoulder and look at the girl who's taking the notes right now, this is a shout out. I've got enough years in here that I'm not doing this for any other reason. She's a very hard worker. She takes copious notes. I've known her for 20 years. A lot of the things that you guys are discussing right now, which I think is very applaudable, to go ahead and address a lot of these issues, she's brought up on a regular basis. We have weekly meetings with all the site administrators, and her door has always been open. She's always asking, how can we go ahead and approve? She's talking about, faxing and transmitting the various sheets as opposed to the bulk mail, boxing things up. I know before, and I've known her for 20 years, before when this thing happened with the big debacle that we had with UC modernization, there was a cataclysmic failure at the top on down. Spending $180 million, which is not this administration's fault. It's not your fault, but it's your problem right now. When that happened before, you guys are left hanging, carrying the bag. And I worked with her on that, and she had a lot of great ideas. And the one thing I'm trying to express to you, Secretary O'Brien, is because you've got a valuable resource there, and she wants this thing to succeed, she's trying to tap our best people to go ahead and get them in to get this BenMod going. And she's also taken a lot of the ideas that you're talking about right now. She's already run up the flagpole and tried to implement. As I said, I've got enough years on the pony right now that I can walk out of here and not be scathed. But I thought it's due time to go ahead and give a little bit of credit for somebody who's putting in a heck of a lot of effort. She's coming down from Muriel on a regular basis. She's sacrificing her family and home life. I know a lot of things that are going on. So I just want to say this in front of all you folks there, that I really appreciate Barb's effort and energy in this, along with you guys' efforts to try to go ahead and make this a better organization.
Well said, Charlie.
Charlie, nobody appreciates Barb's efforts more than I do. Barb spends a lot of time in my office. We go over a lot of things. There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't talk, sometimes multiple times through the course of a day. So I'm well aware of how hard and how much Barb cares. And as far as you talked about the failures, it's not this administration. We're going to solve these problems. We're going to make it right. Because citizens of Pennsylvania deserve nothing less from any of us.
And just to let everyone know, we're putting in a lot of hours and effort into making sure that BenMod gets off on the right foot. We get the right people in the right locations, participating either in person, by phone, or by proxy. And we'll make sure that, as it unfolds, you'll get in the news, what's happening. So, and we're also getting a new phone system. The Office of Administration has already contracted with Genesis, which forces us to change phone systems because ours is attached to the current phone vendor. So we'll need one. We spent a lot of hours yesterday listening to their background and research. I think that you will find it to be very interesting what is offered in a routing system versus the ACD system. For interviewers and examiners are really going to like that. So I just want to thank everybody and the people here for lean. I know taking you away from your desk for a week was not easy, and you made that commitment, and we certainly appreciate that. And Indiana, I know that your workload suffers when you have the most people involved. I understand that. I saw that in Erie when we had the MON VSAP, but we'll catch up. We'll get out of that hole as quickly as possible. And, you know, we're doing our best to listen to what you're saying and implement what we can as we go. We have some things that actually are rolling out this week that we think I know will support some of your concerns here. That's really going to be helpful. So not to delay getting through any of the rest of your questions. Thank you for your kind words, Charlie, but I love what I do. I love the UC program. I've always been one to look outside the box to find new and better ways of doing things. I think sometimes from your seat, maybe you don't see it from the global perspective that I have to look at it, and I have to look at making sure that we have the right amount of work and the right amount of offices with the right amount of people to accomplish it. We also have to have our out. Where can we go if we're running behind over here? Where can this work flow to? So I'm going to ask that you be patient because some of these changes that you're requesting, I know I'm going to have to say no to up front going into winter, but this is the time of year that we don't implement a lot of major processing changes. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to get what you want down the road. Benefit modernization and the sorting and assignment of work is a whole new ballgame, and no decisions have been made. So your opinion counts. It counts in every office statewide. I need to know what your opinion is and what you think as an end user it should look like. Some of you have seen that rollout, and you've seen the demos from BenMod. It's so overwhelming to think that things are going to happen on their own that I think that, you know, when we get there in a couple years, that, you know, I don't know what we'll do, you know, if we don't have to do everything manual. So I just want to point that out to all of you. So thank you to the presenters and for you guys, the ninjas who are out here doing this. And thank you, Bill, for hosting this time. Obviously, we have picked the very smallest training room in the state, and I knew that going into this, but I thought you could be up close and personal for about a week, and you're probably ready to go now.
We only
back
have
to
it
you.
from 614. Anything from 614?
Well, we had some more questions. We had more questions in 410.
I don't know if the 614 want to relinquish some of their questions to
Oh.
get to 410.
We'll wait. We don't want to keep people too long because of lunch schedule.
Right. We have a lot of people traveling back, so we don't want to.
I was concerned about funding. I know some legislators are there listening to us talk about this and how we can improve. An event like this would definitely be something we should have some of them in there. Because if you're talking more people, you know, fewer calls per hour, that's more people. In order to handle what we've got, we need more funding then.
Well, we continue to work towards a long-term funding solution that will fund us to where I think we need to be to service the citizens of Pennsylvania like they were being serviced in 2016.
And this is where we're looking to go lean. We need to find out what parts of our processes we can improve upon so that we can do it with less people. I mean, we're not going to be able to probably go back to the exact numbers we came from. So if we can find those proficiencies within what we're doing, you know, what is our right size? I mean, that's what we need to know. Right now, it's hard to see what your right size is because you have this huge amount of backlog and workload from January, February, March, and April that we have to get out of. So the right size is going to be very important moving forward. It's not just about getting a dollar amount. It's about getting the right dollar amount for the right number of people to do a job. And so we're all going to have to give and take and figure that out. So that's what we're doing here. So that's why we're supporting the Go Lean initiative.
All right. Other questions?
Yes, I have one more. I have one question and one quick comment. If we get the emails from the claimants on the initial claim, whether it's internet or whether it's on the phone, why can't we just send them an encrypted message when we need information and we can't get it, or we can get them on the phone? We have to get their approval to send emails. If they're providing it, why can't we use it?
Because people have email addresses that they never look at. They have one, they establish it for some reason along the line, like you have to have one for certain credit card companies or for banking, etc., but they don't use it for any other purposes. They wouldn't know to check their email unless you ask their permission. So it's not been a primary source. It would be a change of practice for our customers, and we would have to do some behavior modification for them. I'm not saying we shouldn't go in that direction because I'm pro it. Don't get me wrong, but I think you have to ask their permission first. Or, you know, if you want to email them something and leave them a message that says, please check your email. We actually save email addresses from initial claims for a period of a year. And then we go back and we send out an email blast to everybody who's filed a claim who provided an email address. And we give them updated information. The customer service division has been very proactive. They were proactive during the crisis period, and initial claimants got information on how to file their claims, how to use self-service features, etc. We did like a bi-weekly thing as reminders for them, so we are using that in the background. I don't know how many people read them though, because we don't get that information back.
Okay, but Barb, when they give a cell phone number or let's say a landline, my spouse can be listening to that message. I may allow somebody else to listen to my message. So I see it's close to the same thing.
I'm not following you.
She's saying that you're asking for a phone number and
we're not asking permission to call it. Versus permission to use their email address.
Well, because we're a call center. I think that people, because our primary method of communication is a call center environment, I think people, if they provide us with a phone number, anticipating that we're going to call. And I don't think that we have established with our customer base that email would be a primary source of contacting them. In the Benefit Modernized system, they will say if what they would like to have as their selected primary source of contact. I think that will make it easier, but that's down the road. We don't have a method now besides asking them to clarify.
I don't mean to interrupt, but that was one of that was one of the script features that we had wanted to put in place. Just the way that you asked the question. Right now, we're not asking if we can contact them by email. All we're asking is if you have an email. So that's not really going to alert them that we're going to start contacting them by email. But maybe in the future, that's one of those things that we want to work on. Maybe the script could be changed to say, can we contact you by email if needed?
And I agree to that, but the problem is that we put an annotation on the claim, and then after 50 calls, no one knows or sees the annotation, and they don't go back far enough to see it. And we can't keep cluttering the claim with a lot of stops that say, because we only have one alert field. So I see a lot of possibility here, and we need to think about it. And I'll certainly take your suggestions, because if we can make it better, we should make the email system better. So those are things, we'll have to prioritize what we use the alert field for.
All right. We are kind of out of time. We do want to take more questions. However, we have people who need to eat lunch and travel. So I want to thank everyone for your attention today. I'm sorry, 6:14. If you have any questions, or if anyone has any questions, let's see, should we have them email them to you or me? We can have the team.
Push the button.
So you can, what's that?
I do have just a couple quick questions. If I could just get those out to you. What kind of information, just piggybacking on the security issue with email and text, how can we verify who's actually getting those messages? And what kind of information would we be sending?
Right. I mean, this is all information that is part of the implementation plan, which will be worked on by various work groups here. So more information will come out about it as it's, we only have this 1 week. So we come up with the ideas, but not necessarily hash out the details, you know what I mean? So it will be done by this group as time goes on. The details will be figured out.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we'll let you guys drive home. Thank you, everyone, and we will make sure that, for the next value stream, which we have in October, we'll make sure that that is also televised so you can participate. We'll allow lots of time for it. So thank you, and everyone have a safe drive back.